You walk into the room. You say your baby's name. And they just look right through you, like you're a total stranger. Most parents panic when this happens. They think something is wrong with their baby, or worse, something is wrong with them. But scientists discovered that what's actually happening inside your baby's brain in that moment is one of the most beautiful things in human development. And once you understand it, you will never worry about this again. I'm going to decode exactly what your baby's brain is doing and what it means for your relationship with them. Stay with me. Here is what every parent assumes. Face recognition is instinctive. Babies know their parents from birth. It's biological, it's automatic, it's hardwired. The bond creates the recognition. That's where you're wrong. In 2007, researchers at the University of Sheffield ran a series of experiments that quietly dismantled this assumption. They presented newborns, hours old, not days, with two images side by side. One was a human face. One was a scrambled version of that same face, features rearranged into random positions. The newborns consistently preferred the real face. They tracked it. They oriented toward it. But here is what that finding actually means, and what most people miss entirely. Newborns are not recognizing faces. They are recognizing the structure of a face. The general arrangement. Top-heavy, with 2 points of light above a central line. That is all. It is not your face. It is the idea of a face. Your baby, in those early weeks, does not see you. They see the category you belong to. And that distinction between recognizing a face and recognizing your face is where the real science begins. Nobody tells you this. What your baby's brain is doing in the first months of life is not passive recognition. It is active construction. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Brain and Cognitive Sciences found that infant face processing undergoes a fundamental reorganization between birth and 6 months. In the earliest weeks, babies process all faces with roughly equal neural activation. Your face. A stranger's face. A face on a screen. The brain treats them all as members of the same category. Then something shifts. Around 3 to 4 months, the brain begins narrowing. Specializing, dedicating specific neural architecture to the faces it encounters most. And here is where it becomes extraordinary. The more a face is associated with safety, with contingent responses, with the consistent experience of "I signaled something and this person noticed," the more neural real estate that face begins to claim. Your face is not recognized by your baby. It is built by your baby. Constructed, piece by piece, interaction by interaction, from the data of every moment you were present and attuned. The blank stare you experienced, that moment where your baby looked right through you, that was not absence of recognition. That was the construction process running. The brain comparing incoming data against what it has built so far. Stay with me, because this is where it gets genuinely strange. In 2012, researchers at Harvard Medical School used functional neuroimaging to study how infant brains respond to familiar versus unfamiliar faces at different developmental stages. What they found was not what they expected. At 6 weeks, the brain showed similar activation patterns for mothers and strangers. By 4 months, the mother's face produced significantly elevated activation in regions associated with reward processing and social attention. The brain was not just recognizing the mother. It was reacting to her, treating her face as inherently meaningful in a way no stranger's face could replicate. Your baby's brain had learned that your face predicts something. Comfort, response, the specific feeling of being seen. And that learning, that associative architecture, is what recognition actually is. Not a passive reading of features, an active prediction. Your face appears, and the brain says, "Something good follows this." Now here is the layer that almost no one is prepared for. Between 2 and 4 months, most babies go through a window that researchers call the social smile explosion. Suddenly, any face, yours, a stranger's, a photograph, produces delight. Parents often interpret this as their baby becoming more social, more connected, more present. What is actually happening is the opposite. The brain is in a phase of maximum openness. It is collecting data aggressively, sampling every face it encounters to build its recognition architecture. The indiscriminate smiling is not connection, it is research. And then, around 6 months, the openness begins closing. The architecture consolidates. Stranger anxiety emerges not because the baby has become fearful, but because the brain has become precise. It now has a working model of which faces belong and which faces do not. The baby who used to smile at everyone now stares warily at your neighbor. Not because they have changed, because they have learned. You don't realize what that means until you turn it on yourself. You were that baby, somewhere in your first months, before memory, before language, before any conscious awareness of the world. Your brain was running this exact same process. Scanning faces, building architecture, assigning neural weight to the faces that appeared most often in moments of safety and response. The people whose faces made it deepest into that architecture, the ones who generated the strongest reward signal, those are the people your nervous system still treats as safe by default. The ones you reach for when you're overwhelmed. The ones whose absence creates an anxiety you cannot fully explain. Your earliest face recognition was not a record. It was a map. And you're still navigating by it. The baby looking through you is building their version of that same map. And your face, because you are there, because you respond, because you notice, is being carved into it with every single interaction. Now, there is one thing worth understanding. Because the construction process has a signature. And when that signature is absent, it matters. Healthy face recognition development follows a predictable arc. By 2 months, babies should show preferential tracking of familiar faces over strangers in calm conditions. By 4 months, they should demonstrate differentiated responses, more sustained attention, more social engagement with primary caregivers. By 6 months, they should show clear recognition across different contexts and lighting conditions. What concerns developmental pediatricians is a different pattern entirely. A baby who shows no preferential response to any face at 2 months. A baby who does not track moving faces by 3 months. A baby who shows the same flat, undifferentiated response to parents and strangers at 5 months without any sign of the narrowing process beginning. Researchers at the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development note that these patterns, particularly when combined with reduced eye contact and limited social smiling, can indicate disruptions in the face processing system that benefit enormously from early identification. Before 6 months, the neural architecture is still plastic in ways that it will not be at 12 months. Trust what you observe. You are watching this child in more contexts with more attention than any clinician ever will. The parents who say something feels off about the way my baby looks at faces are almost always identifying something real. We live in a world that has made face recognition development harder than it has ever been before. Not because parents love their children less. Because screens have introduced a category of face that evolution never prepared the infant brain to process. A face on a screen does not respond contingently. It does not change expression because the baby smiled. It does not lean in when the baby reaches. It presents the structure of a face, the thing newborns are primed to track, without any of the interactive data the brain needs to build actual recognition. The infant brain, researchers at the University of Washington found, processes screen faces through different neural pathways than live faces. The social brain regions that activate for a real caregiver show reduced engagement for screen-presented faces. Your baby needs your face, not a recording of it. Not a photograph of it. The live, responsive, contingent version, the one that changes because of what they do. That is the version the brain is built to learn from. So the next time your baby looks right through you, remember what you are actually watching. A brain in the middle of one of the most demanding construction projects in human development. Building a recognition system from scratch, using nothing but the data of lived interaction. Carving your face into neural architecture not as a passive record, but as a prediction. Your face means safety. Your face means response. Your face means I am known. That blank stare is not emptiness. It is work. And the face it is working hardest to build, the one accumulating the most neural weight, the most predictive power, the deepest representation is yours. Because you are there. Because you respond. Because every time they signal, you notice. That is not nothing. That is the entire foundation of how one human being comes to mean something to another. And it started the first time they saw your face and something in their brains said, "This one. Remember this one." If this reframed what that blank stare means, leave a comment. Because the moment parents stop panicking about this and start understanding it, everything changes. And if you want to understand why babies make intense, unblinking eye contact with strangers in public, but look away the moment you try to hold their gaze, the next video explains exactly what the brain is doing and why it is the opposite of what most parents assume.